I have been asked to clarify the term cult, which I used in the previous video. The meaning of cult today is well known. It refers to a small, self-isolated group which is devoted to the bizarre ideas of a magnetic personality. It is characterized by an extreme certainty, is very controlling, and thinks of itself as being the only group which is in the right, or which knows something that no one else does. But in biblical literature, the cult is just what we've been reading about. It's the system of sacrifices, including the altars and tables, the priests, and the regulations about offerings. We already saw earlier in Exodus the ambiguity of the word serve. The Hebrew can mean serve in the normal sense, or it can refer to slavery, as it does when talking about Egypt. Or it can refer to cultic service, that is, worshipping God through the offering of sacrifices. This, in turn, can be a metaphor for the covenant relationship of Israel with God as those who continually serve him at his altar. Thus, Moses asks Pharaoh to let his people go so that they might stop serving him, in the sense of being slaves, and thenceforth serve God, in the sense of worship. It was possible to worship God apart from the cult or sacrifices, and there is another word for that. But as we have seen, this is the way God has prepared for his people, so that he may dwell in their midst. Cult, cultic, and cultus, therefore, have no negative connotations in biblical literature. Chapter 31 wraps up these details and is the end of Moses' 40 days and 40 nights on the mountain with God. Master craftsmen will be inspired by the Holy Spirit for the construction and decoration of the tabernacle and items. The Lord finishes his speech by focusing on the importance of the Sabbath, and it is interesting that he does so. He says in chapter 31, verse 13, that the Sabbath is a sign, so that the Israelites will always know that it is the Lord who sanctifies them. It is God himself who purifies his people, though of course they must submit and obey in order that this might happen. Despite all that has just been said by the Lord for this purpose, down below there is a contrasting scene. The instinct of the people is to replace Moses as their leader and guide, who seems to have disappeared. Perhaps he died on the mountain meeting God. But the calf they urge Aaron to make also represents Yahweh. Aaron declares that there will be a feast to the Lord. This especially contrasts with the preceding scene where the Lord was telling Moses how to worship or serve him. Here Aaron and the people are making that decision for themselves. But despite this dedication, they are not really worshipping the Lord. This is firstly because they are not doing it his way, but also because they refer to the calf as gods, which is a pagan way of doing it. They are certainly breaking the second commandment, and they might also be breaking the first one too. Their paganism is also seen in all their dancing and revelry. Moses has just been receiving instructions about how to ordain Aaron and his sons with their special clothes, the blood, and their unique role in the sacrifices. But here is Aaron presiding over this incredible act of idolatry. No wonder both the Lord and Moses burn with anger. But Moses is the priest of the priests. It is he, after all, who has to ordain Aaron and the rest. Now he intercedes on behalf of the whole nation. He does so on the basis of two things: God's reputation among the nations and his promise to the patriarchs. There is no doubt the people deserve destruction, but God listens to Moses and changes his mind. Yet there still is punishment to come. The Lord has decided not to completely destroy them as he first declared, but Moses inflicts a great slaughter with the Levites. It seems as though this is whilst the people are still dancing in the throes of their wild celebrations. Verse 20, which describes the destruction of the calf, is probably out of sequence and would have occurred after Moses confronted Aaron and the slaughter. As for Aaron, it is a low point. He blames the Israelites, saying they are bent on evil. He also distances himself from the careful and presumably laborious task of crafting the calf by saying that he threw the gold in the fire and the calf basically just popped out. Again, Moses acts in a priestly way by going back to the Lord to make atonement for the people. The Lord tells him to take the people onwards and assures him the angel will go with them. But the punishment will still come at the right time. The final verse 35, may be seen as fulfillment of that threat. In all, it is a shameful and bitter episode, and in verse 9, the Lord calls his people stiff-necked, a phrase which will come to characterize their disobedience and ingratitude. But on the bright side, we have seen mercy, intercession, and patience at work. For all that the cult is designed to do and achieve, in the end it was one man, the one called the friend of God, who pleads with him to spare his wretched people, and God listens. God still does punish, but he also preserves. The unrelenting sin of man does not win.